afternoon or good evening. I'm probably not, no, I'm the first non-scientist who's now speaking here. I would like to underline this. I work in DG SANTE, and I'm actually charged in doing this exercise, querying the circle of Oreo. Let me first start, where's the slide now? Yeah. We have already quite a number of provisions, specific provisions, regulatory provisions, as regards endocrine disruptors in our legislation, in EU legislation. Water Framework Directive, REACH, my colleague will talk about this later. Plant protection products, cosmetics, biocidal products, they have provisions as regards endocrine disruptor, and we have an overarching EU strategy for which also Björn is here to present this afterwards, maybe, is in place since 1999. I have mentioned here for plant protection products because this falls in my area of responsibility, but the colleague from EFSA mentioned this already. We have not only tests, but we have also the requirement of peer-reviewed open literature, and we have data requirements which were only, let's say, recently modernized, updated, and we have in parallel two communications which list quite a number of tests, OECD tests, which are to be fulfilled when submitting a dossier. Can I have the next one, please? So I have here basically again listed the various areas where we have provisions. We have adverse effects caused by endocrine disruptors already covered by, let's say, standard risk assessment, and this was also explained by EFSA beforehand. And this has caused already until today that we have quite removed or regulated a number of substances which demonstrated that they have these endocrine disrupting effects. We have example of pesticides, we have quite a number. We have bisphenol A, which was various times listed here as an example. Even here we have now a new EFSA assessment, but we have here measures taken, regulatory measures, and we have also actions in the area of phthalates and in the REACH area, but again I refer to the next speaker. Next slide, please. The exercise which we are now doing, or what we have here, what we are doing as regards endocrine disruptors, I believe we are pioneering here in the worldwide. At least I dare say this. We have no internationally, if you look at the international scene, we have no criteria to identify endocrine disruptors. I would invite you to take this into account, that we are really entering here, even if people are saying this is already known since a long time, but we are entering here as regulators in a new area. This being said, I will now come to the two pieces of legislation, biocide and plant protection products, where we have actually the legal requirement to establish these criteria, which bring us now here together this afternoon, and which also led them to the impact assessment. These two regulations, can I have the next slide, define regulatory consequences for endocrine disruptors. They establish interim criteria which apply until we have the final criteria established. And here would follow up of what Mr. Kortenkamp said. I'm not only lobbied, or we are not only under pressure from industry on our work in establishing criteria, but there's also the plea of industry that we get rid of the interim criteria, because this has also impact on the industry's business. So there is pressure from both sides to finally adapt criteria, but also to remove the existing criteria. And this I have to say, and you all know this, we failed to deliver the criteria by December 2013 for various reasons. This might be discussed later on in the discussion. But that's where we are. The next slide, please. In the regulatory consequences in the pesticide legislation, endocrine disruptor are an approval criterion. The approval decision is based on a strong hazard component, but not there's not necessarily an immediate ban. Approval, if is possible if we have if the applicant then can demonstrate negligible exposure, or we have also the possibility of derogations which are foreseen in case of a serious danger to plant health. For biocidal products, here BP, we have for professional use, the approval decision is based on the risk component. We have Article 5.2 there as well, a derogation for disproportionate negative impact on society. For the consumer use of biocidal products, it's a strict hazard-based non-approval. There are no derogations foreseen. I think in order to gain time, I can skip this slide and come to the next one. So the Commission started to, or we work on this, the development of criteria since 2009. The preparatory work started in 2009. Since then, a number of studies, scientific studies, and opinions were requested by the Commission. One study is the report which was drafted by the first speaker, Mr. Kortenkamp. We have the EFSA scientific opinion, which you heard about as well. And we have also the involvement of the Commission's Joint Research SANTE Expert Advisory Group, which prepared the report in 2013. About the work which was done since 2009, when the preparatory work started, we had a number of activities. My colleague from DG Environment, they set up an ad hoc working group. In parallel, there was an endocrine disruptor expert advisory group led by the Joint Research Center. We had a Commission conference on endocrine disruptor in 2012, and there was a first draft for endocrine disruptors for the criteria was discussed in this ad hoc working group. There was unfortunately not possible to find a consensus in this group, but I would also stress that there was no consensus and there was not a formal Commission inter-service consultation launched on this first draft neither. So it was a first draft which was discussed but which was never agreed upon. It was difficult to find an agreement. Can I have the next slide? Because the topic is complex. There's still scientific divergence, even if this was not, if I listened to the previous speaker, there was quite consensus about the speaker, but I heard other voices here as well. We had recently a conference, DG SANTE recently organized a conference where we had also scientists invited, where these divergences were again becoming clear. Then we also should see that the criteria to identify endocrine disruptors, where we have the legal obligation in pesticides and biocides, will impact also on other sectors. We aim at establishing horizontal criteria. So what we do now for pesticides and biocides will certainly have an impact on cosmetics, on REACH, on other sectors. So it's not the use which is actually deciding whether a substance is has a toxicological property, but it's rather the substance as such. We also have to see, when we talk about the complexity, there's a huge divergence in the regulatory consequences endocrine disruptor classification might trigger. We have significant impacts. The impacts, subsequently, the impacts vary as well from sector to sector. And but this is more for the regulator later on. We have also different legal procedures on how to implement these criteria. The fact that we couldn't agree, that there was no consensus, we could not find a consensus in the preparatory work or in the work in the various groups which I mentioned, led the Commission to ask the services to start working on an impact assessment. This was in 2013. The impact assessment, just to recall, is an analytical process to prepare relevant evidence for political decision-making based on the best available information. And an impact assessment is also a standard procedure which we are increasingly asked now in the Commission to carry out for every regulatory measure we intend to take. The impact assessment, better regulation, but this is no more regular, let's say, Commission slang. I'm not going to explain this further, but we have, and this is what I would highlight on this slide, the impact assessment does not replace, at the end of the day, the decision-making process. I'm coming to the next slide. I see my time is over, but then I would have not even addressed the main points. This can go, this slide, the next one as well, the next one as well. We have published our roadmap. This is also the procedure. I skipped this as well because I would like to come to the options which we have outlined in our roadmap. Maybe I should also say the roadmap. It is not a DT SANTE roadmap. This is a roadmap which was agreed by the Commission services and which was is publicly available on the website. So it's a joint outcome, and which was the development of this roadmap was accompanied by a group which was composed by various services. We have in this roadmap established various options. One aspect is the criteria which we intend to apply, the criteria to identify endocrine disruptors, where we have 4 options. The next slide, please. 4 options. The baseline. This is the interim criteria. This is in every single impact assessment. You have to do this. We have option 2, 3, and 4, which are based on the World WHO definition with additional elements in 3 and 4. And we have on top of this regulatory decision making, the next slide please, we have also regulatory, it's now one too fast, but doesn't matter. We have also integrated on the horizontal axis regulatory aspects which we are looking at, namely an introduction of risk assessment elements and introduction of socioeconomic considerations. I'm going to skip the next slides. We have done a public consultation. The public consultation, all the elements are available on our website. We are going to make a more detailed report. This was announced at the conference for end of this month, and we are in time to make this report hopefully available before you can all depart on summer holidays and digest this document. I have seen the first draft, which is about quite comprehensive. The public consultation in parallel, next slide please. We also, I skipped this one, those who were at the conference on 1st of June, they have seen this. And we are doing also in parallel a number of studies. The first study was in a joint research center task to develop a methodology which would allow a quick screening to group the pesticides and biocides mainly, but also substances from other chemical groups into the various options. This has been done, and we are now applying this method. This work is done by a contractor, but once the study is done, this work is done. We have for the first time our own, let's say, our own assessment carried out, and we will not rely on, like Mr. Kottenkamp said, on a number of various studies prepared by various competent authorities or other organizations where we are not aware of the underlying methodology. So once we have identified the number of substances per category, we can finally start working on the socio-economic impact assessment. And also here I would make it clear, we are not looking at economical impacts alone. We are also looking at other aspects, all the aspects which were mentioned here before, health, environment, are part of this impact assessment, because I hear very often that we are only looking at economical aspects. This is not correct. Maybe I come now to the very last slide. Next one, please. So I think I would like to underline once again that we are entering new territory. The EU is entering new territory. We are aware of the problem. That's why we are engaged. We are preparing currently for taking regulatory action. And once this is done, we will do this. And this is refer back to Commissioner Andriukaitis. Andriukaitis, being a medical doctor, he's very committed to emphasize the health aspect of this work. And we had this delay. This is not, I don't deny this, but I think we are currently on track with the work which we are scheduling. Thank you very much, and my apologies for taking more time than necessary.